Oh, hey, we are now officially in New York City, more specifically in the neighborhood of Brooklyn, more specifically near, on the cusps or right at in Brooklyn Heights. Staying at the Marriott in Brooklyn. And Val right now is downstairs working at a conference. And let's just show the quick setup. Hey, by the way, the view. This is facing, where is this facing? I think this is facing eastward, yeah, eastward to, well, I'm in Brooklyn, but it's going east of Brooklyn. I don't know any of these building names. All I know is it's a concrete jungle. There's no Santa Rosa background whatsoever. It's just concrete and little patches of greenery. And this is the work setup we're working with this Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. From here, this is the view, just like that, coding along with a nice baby blue clock, 5:47. Okay, that means quitting time. Ciao for now.
Awesome. Now, how was your experience with the event so far?
Floor. I don't know if the house was in here or they left it.
So cool. I told you one of my afternoon walk here in New York, and the birds have invaded like these section of scaffolding to make nests. Super cool. Scaffolding, birds. Where nature meets urbanization. Hey, what is good, Xander Software Engineering Technician? Are we gonna say it for now? You heard there from the First Lady, Valeria herself. We're in New York, and Valeria just completed her first conference with the Family Office Club, where millionaires become centimillionaires, and where centimillionaires become billionaires. But at the same time, we're present. Ciao!
He has heritage, from this
Awesome.
island.
Mi amor, Valeria.
And too, you always come up.
Some people we just met. The Deep Thicker Sam. Deep Thicker Sam?
Somebody, man.
Yeah, man.
Sí,
Nos tocó en la misma línea 12.
sí.
Oí.
Sí.
Entonces, cara
Pero
Y el-
uno a un lado y otro
Y el
lado.
otro, ajá, y entonces esperando a que a ver
Mira,
si nos dejaban
amor,
sentar
amor.
cuando va
Mom,
llegando
this
la
is
ciudad,
Pareda.
Y era una
That's the
pareja
airport
con un
right over
bebé.
there. We just came
Es
from
que
there.
ya pedíme el favor de que si me podía pasar para la de Sander.
Ay, oí.
Carrying on with the day, we'll give you updates later
Usted no puede creer eso. Usted
tonight
no
or
puede- o sea,
tomorrow.
es
We're
que
gonna
eso
reach
no
out to
le
you.
pasa a nadie.
Let's mark my
En toda
words.
la
Love
vida
ya.
nos tocó-
Mami, que hablar del de Julio canta regular. Cuando él canta en Julio es Hablando el de Jorge. Ya. Sin azúcar.
Welcome to the week 13 documentation Hack Reactor. I always like to say it extravaganza, coming to you from Santa Rosa de Cabal, but earlier this week, from Tuesday to Saturday, I was here, right in this neighborhood, just about, because that's the Brooklyn Bridge. We were in Brooklyn. My girlfriend and myself, we were in Brooklyn, New York City, attending a conference. Well, my girlfriend was working and attending a conference, and I was working on the program, Hack Reactor, in itself. And I just want to give a shout out to any individual that is drinking coffee, but coffee mixed with chocolate. I've actually never done this before that I can really think of, and I highly, highly recommend it. Taking some Colombian coffee and mixing it with some Colombian chocolate, and then you have yourself a riquísimo combination of mouth pleasure. So, this week 13 marks the start of module 3 and also the start of our 4 to 5 person group project. In this case, I'm in a group of 5. And all this week, starting from Monday to Friday, we worked on our group project. And for this week, it was dedicated to the planning phase, the architecture phase. So first deciding on what the application we wanted to work on and build for this project, and then from there addressing and defining what are our MVPs being the minimal viable project that we want to create, and then from there defining our stretch goals. So if we have extra time and our UX is working the way we want it to, running smoothly, then we can address our stretch goals. Stretch goals are basically functionality to our application that takes a lot more energy, resources, and time to certainly figure out and implement, but it can be done, but it's just a matter of how much time is left. In this case, we have 6 weeks for this project. At this point, we're already 1 week in. And yeah, really looking forward to just continuing seeing how it's progressing. Also, additionally this week, there's been a lot of new concepts, mainly in the world of APIs, being a new API that was introduced to us for creating endpoints when calling and making API calls, called Fast API, and that's what we're using for our project. And then in addition, starting on Monday, being tomorrow, we're going to have several lectures and then be defining for us as a group the type of database that we're going to be using, whether it's like relational a database. And for example, one of the options of databases we can use is something called MongoDB. It seems it's very common in the industry, and I imagine that's the database we will be ending up using for our project, but we shall see. I do want to say this conference that my girlfriend worked at and went to is a great career opportunity for her and also individuals she met, and like her role at the event, which was mainly like helping out with registration, and then also organizing and managing like the videographers and getting individuals that spoke at the event to give documented video testimonials. And so she was the one organizing that. And through this, she met one of the members that is part of her company she works for, a member that lives in Guadalajara, Mexico, but is originally for, get this, Alaska. And so I'm really grateful for my girlfriend Valeria for then like contacting me when she met him in person to say, hey, can you make some time and just come down and meet this individual? And so I'm really grateful that I had about 20 minutes roughly to talk with this individual and connect over just stories about Alaska. He's an older gentleman, but he has heaps and heaps of history and knowledge and stories to talk about. He's also a very bright individual, has been very successful business-wise, and he represents a very impactful company in the products or the industry of battery safety. battery safety. Believe it or not, a lot of electrical batteries do end up catching on fire. And so like the company he represents has created and patented this type of technology that protects batteries from exploding. And he was naming really big clients they have. Like, for example, the US government. The US government is using their technology. That's a big company right there. And in addition, they're also like invented some type of technology that reduces the wear and tear from like vibration on instruments, or I should say instruments, but mechanical devices. So let's just use the example of airplanes. When airplanes fly, there's energy being transferred through vibration, okay? Now that vibration over time will loosen nuts or bolts, and that impacts the maintenance costs. And so what his company, or the company he represents, has defined or created a technology that can harness and I guess prevent that vibration from really being transferred in the form of energy. I guess it somehow transfers that energy and not being passed through other parts of a machinery, so it limits the wear and tear. And he quoted me different numbers, but let's just say it can reduce 20 to 50% of maintenance costs, and that's miraculous. But anyways, cool individual. I have his contact information, and I actually want to find out more from this company because they're doing some really cool stuff. And who knows, maybe there are software opportunities galore. I do want to say though, when I was talking with him, he's like, man, Xander, you're a really great speaker. Why are you bothering, or why are you, it's interesting you're doing what you're doing as far as being like involved with like software engineering. And when he told me that, I was thinking like, that's an interesting observation, because he probably is coming from the standpoint of just used to a lot of people in this industry, in the tech industry, being like in front of a computer, software related, engineer related. They don't have, it's just less common to see a more like extroverted, specific type of social skills. So that was just an interesting observation that individual EJ made. But cool guy. He's married to Mexicana, and they live in Guadalajara, Mexico. And I also do want to add this note that he told myself and Valeria, like, hey, when you guys decide to have kids, I would highly consider not having, you don't need to rush to have your kids be like a U.S. citizen, because of the standpoint of no matter where they go in the world, what they're doing, they're always going to have to be paying taxes to the U.S. government. And yeah, that was a really great point that he made, that I'm glad like Valeria, my girlfriend, was next to me when he said that, because that's something I can definitely relate to what he was saying. And this is numerous different types of perspectives that I've heard other people have the same type of perspective in the world of just being more like nomadic, being open to planting your flag in different cultures and countries, and from a standpoint of like you just want to have the best life possible. And part of that equation does involve finances and creating your own wealth for yourself. And if you're a good portion of your wealth is always going to taxes every single year, and you're not really seeing benefits from it if you're not in that country at all for years or very little, then it does make you think like, okay, well, I should probably see alternatives. But nonetheless, let's get back on track. Let's exit out of New York and go into just sharing a little bit from my GitHub repository on the project we're working on as a group called Clueless. So for example, these are my team members: Jason Jang, Janet Gonzalez, Leland Pham, Sabrina Linder. Now the cool thing, and me, Xander Clemens, wow. So cool thing is Jason Jang is in Montreal, Canada. Jeanette is in Tampa Bay, Florida. Leland is also in Tampa Bay, Florida. They've never met though, but it's pretty cool they're on the same team. And Sabrina is in New York City. Now when I was in New York City, I asked her briefly what part of New York she's into, and it wouldn't work out based off of the distances and our like work schedules, but it would have been cool to meet up in person. So that's a little bit of the team. And the project we have going on so far, I'm going to go into like the docs section just to show you our wireframe. So the cool thing we did like the first 2.5-3 days of the project is we really defined what each page of our project was going to look at using a tool called Excelodraw, and then creating the slides or the pages we have in mind. So this is more to give us an idea of the functionality we need to build. Again, the UI, the user interface, it's not going to look exactly like this, because I'm sure it's going to change based off different different elements that come about throughout doing this project. But for example, this is like the home page, this is the planner, this is the closet page. And before I even continue on, I should probably mention what this project is. This project is going to be of a website that builds a user profile of clothes they have. I think I have it here, clothing upload form. So individuals are going to take like pictures of their clothes, or maybe like they find a picture online that's very similar to the clothes they have, and they upload it. Now then our application is going to build a profile, or in this case like a closet, of all the clothes they own, okay? Organizing into like whether it's a top, a bottom, shoes, hat. And then from there, we're going to then pull in a weather API. We're going to use this API here called Open Weather API. We're going to use this website before because we used it back in module 2, so we're fairly familiar with it and we know it works very well. So it's Open Weather Map, Weather API. You can get all this different information returned. I know I can find it. I've found it before as far as like the more detailed information. But we're going to use that. And when we make a call to the Open Weather API, we're then going to have a planner, like a 7-week planner or calendar displayed. Based off what the weather is, it's going to show your style of recommended clothes you should wear for the day based off what the weather is. So that's kind of like what the project is in short. The cool thing about that is we're really going to focus on our UX, so our minimal viable. I think I said valuable before when I was talking in this video, but MVP stands for minimal viable functionality. And yeah, we, like the second day or maybe the first day, we did like a little presentation to 2 of the instructors, the 2 out of the 3 instructors we have for this module, and they both just highlighted and emphasized, really define and focus on your minimal viable functionality first. Get that working, get the UX working, then from there focus more on your stretch goals, and that could be more pertaining to like the UI. And they both really highlighted just the importance of UX. You can have like the most beautiful application in the world, but if the UX is trash, then you got nothing. A great example of great, fantastic, phenomenal UX is called Craigslist, that everybody knows about. Craigslist. Now we can all agree that the UI is nothing to smile about, but I'm gonna smile. But its functionality is marvelous. If we actually go back, Craigslist has been around since 1995, and the UI hasn't really changed since then. It just highlights when the UX works phenomenal, you have a phenomenal project. So yeah, that's just a little bit about the project we're working on. Starting tomorrow, we're gonna then work and define our database, what we're gonna be doing for that. Another thing we did was like defining our API endpoints, so like the information we need to be storing and pulling through like the URLs that we're gonna need to have, like a login, a logout, sign up page. We have a calendar page. That calendar is obviously gonna include like holidays. The bin, which represents the clothing bin, where it's storing our clothes. You got new clothes, creating a wardrobe. So yeah, it's a cool project from the standpoint of working with a team and then building out this project through key technologies that are used in the industry now and going to be continually being used. So yeah, looking forward to just continually working with my group and adding value however I can. And yeah, my group is really cool, so I'm glad we all connect well and we're working well in a virtual environment. In addition to some of the other topics that we learned this week, I'm just going to name these out. I'll certainly write about more of these in detail on my blog post. So like a relational database, Mongo database, Redux, WebSockets. We're definitely going to talk more about WebSockets. There's also been like this module, at least for the first week and going forward, there's a lot of more content pertaining to data structures and algorithms. Why is that? Because a lot of companies, when they do interviews for software engineer positions or other tech positions, a lot of times you'll have interview questions pertaining to data structure and algorithms, and generally more times than not, that does seem like that's more of the questions that will trip people up, or they're more challenging. So the reason they bring that about in module 3 is because now you're in preparation for doing more interviews and applying for more jobs, and you're certainly, when you're deeper along in the interview process, you're very well most likely going to have questions pertaining to data structure and algorithm. What is async functions, HTTP request messages, but really in depth about like where information is stored in the request message, so like the request line, header lines, message body. Then talk about fast APIs, that's what we're using for our project. You had the nodes and linked list. That was like the first time I've been learned about a topic in depth more, or like I had a lecture about nodes and links. I think that was like on a Wednesday. That was given by one of our instructors. So like data structure again, relating to, it's going to be a big part of module 3. There's just some code from there. Like, and then you have circular queue, unit testing. That's another thing that was introduced this module that it's going to have to be one of our requirements for our project, is that you have to have at least one unit test. And that's a whole nother skill and type of technology, but it's another type of procedure you have to do when creating software and code, is creating these unit tests to just make sure everything is running pinpoint fine. And the cool thing about when you do like unit tests, it adds another layer for you to really have to understand the code, the software that you're writing or reading, if you're going to be the one or one of the individuals in creating a unit test. Then we had something called like deterministic, what is mocking, and then steps for writing a unit test, relational database, which we talked about before earlier, then inner joins and fast API CRUD. And then I put this in here, this is on my own research, but Copilot X, is it good enough to replace programmers? The short answer, according to this article, is no, but it's a very extremely useful tool, and it should not really be used that much if you're still in the learning phase, which I agree. But at the same time, most of your colleagues are probably using it too, or just individuals in the space are using it. So all very interesting. And just like certain cities around the world that never sleep, the tech industry, the tech world never sleeps. Okay, so yeah, that's week 13. Looking forward to carrying on. We're gonna just bring back footage from New York. Also, another place we went with our friend Andres Ospina, who is like the managing director of Family Office Club. So he's Val's like colleague. We went to the area where 9/11 occurred on Manhattan Island, where there used to be the World Trade Centers, and now there's the magnificent Freedom Tower, and there's a subway station right next to it called, I know it has the word like Oculus in it, but it is like a work of art. It is a very magnificent structure when it comes to architecture, and it is something to see and witness, and also just obviously walk around the area because of what it represents for numerous individuals that certainly are from millennials and older. So individuals from my generation and then Generation X. I haven't talked about these things in such a long. I'm trying to remember. It's Generation X, Gen X, and baby boomers. It's a very representation time, very historical event that took place there. So I'm really glad I had the opportunity to at least have a moment from this trip of going there. And yeah, very grateful. And we're back in Santa Rosa de Cabal since yesterday, and back in it. We're at today's Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers out there, including my mom. Mom, if you're watching this, which I know hopefully at some point you are, because I do these primarily to keep Dad and you informed on what's going on a little bit in my life. So Mom, happy Mother's Day. You are a very special person in my life, and I'm just so grateful of all the time, energy, and dedication you have put in. You put into just my upbringing and providing so much opportunities for me that now I'm the person that I am today, and I am where I am today because of you as a mom and what you've, who you raised for me to become. So I really appreciate it, Mom, and thank you so much. Yeah, so we were the entire time we're mainly in Brooklyn Heights area, and I went on like 20 or 30, maybe 40 walks my time there, just around the Brooklyn area, around the hotel we were at. And the biggest highlight I had from these walks was hearing many people speak in English and just like hearing what they're talking about, but also like the numerous 10 to 15 different languages I hear on these walks, and going to the pier side on the East River near Brooklyn Heights. It was a really beautiful place, especially this time of year in May, springtime, late spring, almost going into summer. It's a little too hot for my liking, being in the city when it's like 5 degrees warmer, but it's very, very beautiful. That part of Brooklyn has like 3 or 4 piers that have been like refurbished, rebuilt, where like these massive basketball courts on the water on the East River. There's like this massive football or soccer pitch on the river. There's beach volleyball court. There's a massive like park and lots of people using it. Lots of activity. Health-wise, there's lots of people biking. There's even like a really cool pickleball court I saw. So yeah, it's just a really, really cool part of New York. It's like the only part I've been to so far. There's certainly thousands of places you can go in New York that have their own like little vibe, their culture. Yeah, so it's cool. Certainly my girlfriend and myself, we don't see ourselves ever wanting to like live there because of the concrete jungle and just just around a lot of people, but it's certainly a very cool place to visit. And I think if you have time, and certainly it helps when you have financial resources to be able to afford just the experiences there, it is a place that I recommend anybody to go, just from the standpoint of being surrounded by numerous people from all over the different world, the cultural melting pot. You're gonna learn things from others. You're gonna meet people from all over the world that just brighten your perspective and give you a deeper sense on life. Okay, week 13, signing off. Thank you so much for watching, and looking forward to week 14. Keep chugging along. If at all you ever have questions now into the future, shoot me a message, and I look forward to sharing with you. I did not realize the basketball court, Barclays Center, has like a greenery on top of it. That is super cool. Wow, that's hip. Okay, well, it's New York. It's a hip place, but not as hip as me. Debatable. Okay. Ciao for now. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.